Reflect and remember those who have lost their life to coronavirus, marking a year of lockdown. For some families, it will have been a painful reminder of the cost of locking down itself.
Being cut off from loved ones is so hard and can be even worse when you're struggling with your mental health. Many of the charities that would normally provide help for people have seen their funding dry up. So there are worries that we may end up with a crisis we aren't equipped to deal with.
Rachel Bullock has been speaking to the fiancé of a man from Stockton who became overwhelmed by the pressures of living in lockdown.
Ross was the life and soul of every room. Fantastic dad, best dad you could ever want for your child.
A third lockdown during a cold winter proved too much to bear for Ross McCarthy.
He really struggled with the cold weather. I mean, he described it to me on that weekend as it being Groundhog Day. He was going to work and then on a weekend you couldn't do anything because the weather was bad. You just waiting to start the next week at work. That was quite hard for him, especially as someone who did like to be active.
Charlotte had supported Ross throughout his long-running mental health struggles. He was on the waiting list for NHS services.
In the last year, Ross paid for his own private counsellor because he couldn't get to see someone quick enough due to lockdown.
So Ross did everything he should have done. He did ask for help.
Mental health is such a big thing, and I mean, Ross's dad described it as a cancer of the mind, and that's what it is. The difference is if you had cancer and you could see it, it would be treated quickly. It's the biggest killer of men under 45. It's getting men that support so that they're not suffering alone.
In 2019, the male suicide rate in England was at its highest for 2 decades. It accounted for 16.9 deaths per 100,000 people, and around 75% of suicide-related deaths were men. Now, these figures are from 2019 because the rate for 2020 hasn't yet been released. But a year of lockdowns, working from home, or not being able to work at all is feared to have taken a terrible toll.
It is a concern. It's had a huge impact. So I am concerned, genuinely.
Matthew Smith set up this charity after his older brother Daniel ended his life aged 19. Demand for help here has spiked during the pandemic, while funding has plummeted due to fundraisers being cancelled in lockdown. Despite that, Matthew says those in crisis must still seek support.
Suicide's a permanent solution to a temporary problem, and whatever you are going through, whatever them feelings are, you can get through them, but the main way or the best way to get through them is having people around you.
And that's now Charlotte's campaign to help others to help themselves.
The reason for all this is to help men before they get in Ross's shoes. I wouldn't want anyone to feel the pain that we're feeling.
A pain sadly shared by an increasing number of families.